our first item is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance, and Ernest is going to lead us.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item is going to be our moment of silence. Would you please join us? Thank you. Next item is going to be discussion and possible action on the board meeting minutes from September 11, 2017 and September the 25th, 2017. Does anyone have any questions or comments on these?
Just a follow-up for future reference, at the last meeting there was discussion about whether or not we could pass minutes at the special meeting, and our bylaws and policies do allow it. So that's just at the discretion of the board.
Our bylaws allow us to approve.
Your board policy, I shouldn't have said bylaws, I'm sorry.
Our board policy allows us to.
Whatever's on the agenda at the special meeting is allowable. So if the minutes aren't on there, you can.
Yeah. I might just say that I find that I'll stick with what I said last meeting.
Okay.
I'm going to make it short, Larry.
Okay, if anyone doesn't have any questions or comment, I'm going to need a motion for approval.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion, I need a second.
A second.
A second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Next item is going to be our conference request, vehicle requests, fundraisers, and use of district property. You have a copy of these in your packet.
These vehicle request form, Mr. Superintendent, there's a box down here, and I took it that meant it's completed afterwards. Is that correct? A box that says to be completed by central office. It doesn't have to be completed before.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, if there's no questions or comments, I'm going to need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed? A motion carries. Our next item is discussion and possible action for orders of the treasurer for October 9, 2017 in the amount of $1,541,852.38.
No, I don't have any comments. It's just the normal operation and the high school.
Okay, does anyone have any comments or questions? I'll make a motion to accept. Okay, I have a motion to accept. I need a second.
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, a motion is to accept. Next item is discussion and possible action to pay warrants in the amount of $1,387,048.80, which includes items paid outside the board in the amount of $126,384.21.
Again, that's just the normal paid warrants and normal operating costs and costs for the new high school.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I have a motion to accept. I need a second. I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, our motion carries to accept. Next item is discussion and possible action to set the 2018 tax rate.
Everybody perked up on that one. Okay, there's quite a few things to talk about, and I put the little handouts, since it's hard to read these on the TV monitors. The tax rate for last year, as you know, came in at 80.9 per 100. The, it's here.
It's not in the new section. What's it look like? This should be, okay, thank you.
Did you find it?
Yeah.
Everybody got this? These handouts here, notice it here.
Yeah.
Did you see those?
Is it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Did you see that?
Next one. Back it over.
This one. Yeah, there you go. Just hang on to all that. Did you got it? Okay. Okay, if you'll notice on page 3, it says report 3 down at the bottom. These are the numbers that came back from the state on our assessments. Did you find that?
Report 3.
Page 101.
Report 3, yeah.
Page
Yeah.
101. Okay.
Yeah. You got that? Did you find it there? All right. Our assessments for this year went down $107 million. And that is due largely to the unmined minerals and the state assessments for real estate on businesses and tangible property. You'll see in the net assessment growth, that middle column, in the middle, in the middle section in the middle column, where the losses are, down 75 million on real estate, 30 million on tangible personal. We actually increased almost 600,000 on PSC, tangible property, and no, that's on real estate. And we went down 2.5 million on tangible personal for PSC. The numbers that they're giving us, because of all these drops, which is mostly from state reassessment, is that the new compensating rate that they're suggesting is 104 instead of 80.9. That's a large increase. All the area districts are seeing that.
Eastern Kentucky.
That's
who it's hitting the hardest.
All of Eastern Kentucky is getting hit real hard. Some of Western Kentucky because of the coal out there.
What brought the business tax down?
It's a reassessment from the state.
The state,
Yeah.
the state board of
Yeah.
what?
The Revenue Board, Revenue Cabinet.
Under the direction of
No,
Bevan?
I can't answer that. I don't know under what direction it came from.
Thank you.
Yeah. The property tax for here from the PBA pretty much stayed the same. It was down 0.1% is all. So it relatively the same as it was last year. The oil, mineral, timber, and unmined coal was reassessed from 126, this isn't on that, this isn't on that. I got this from a different source. From 126 million down to 50 million, a loss of 59.9% of assessment value
And why was that reassessed?
because of the coal industry, mostly. There's timber and other minerals in it, but mostly it all came from unmined minerals for coal.
That went down. The
Yeah,
assessment
it went down.
down on the unmined mineral tax.
Oil, oil and mineral and timber was the biggest drop.
And that's why they raise it.
Yeah, right, because once the assessments go down, to compensate for the amount of revenue that we'll generate, the tax rate goes up to make it net itself out.
I don't understand. We had a higher tax rate last year on unmined mineral than we do this year.
They reassessed in the middle of the year,
They,
the state.
the state. Why?
Because of the,
Because of the impact on the coal industry and on the minerals for really everywhere, but it hit us the hardest. Eastern Kentucky. Like I said, our old rate was 80.9, and our new compensating rate was suggested to us at 104.
You say pretty well every school system around us, especially Eastern Kentucky, got to get that way.
Right. Knox counties went from 55 cents to $1.08, I think it was.
Letcher County was 96, 98, something like that.
Yep.
Everybody's.
Most everybody's has ended up practically doubling.
there's about 13 counties.
Yeah.
So it's like the unmined mineral tax, if there's no hope of mining, or they see no future of mining it, then it's not valued as much.
Right, it's not valued as
So therefore, your
much.
assessed value is low.
Right.
If they, any sign that it might be mined down the road, then it would stay the same.
Right.
And it's not that way anymore. So they lowered the value of it.
So if we keep our tax rates the same as this year, so
That's what the last form
The last
is.
page.
I kinda done some calculations are for you. This has got a lot of moving parts, but if you look at keeping the tax rate the same, and then I've got different collection rates down the middle there, 100%, 80%, depending on our collection rate, which factors in how much money that we get. You'll see we're at 100%, if we leave the tax rate alone, we're gonna lose like $880,000.
We never get 100%.
We never get 100%. With our contingency and a relatively reasonable collection rate, really our best looking scenario on here is at 65%, and we will kind of come out with our 2% contingency for the year. If we can make it, if we can get a 65% collection rate, it practically wipes out our contingency, but we'll still maintain our 2% by leaving the tax rate alone.
we worked real hard to save and be tight, and we was hoping to have money to spend on the new school or a rainy day. Well, here's a rainy day happened first.
Yep.
I asked this once before, but please explain it to me, Mr. Hale or Mr. James. Why aren't we nearer, more near than to the 100%? Why are we always down low? Why can't we collect higher than a 65% rate?
People can't afford to pay it, or won't.
And what happens to my fellow citizens who can't afford it?
The only thing that I know of is they can be held accountable by putting the property up for sale by the county attorney. You know, there's liens put on it for different reasons. But, you know, a courthouse sale, and you may be able to speak to that, is probably the only way that can be forced. And then you may or may not get your money back, you know, our money. We may not recoup the money that is out there depending on what's owed and what it ends up finishing out at.
So one's property can be auctioned on the courthouse steps.
It can lead to that, yeah.
Does, in your recollection, has it ever done, have they ever done that?
I don't know. I don't know.
And what percentage of that do we get if they do that? Do we get anything from that if outside individuals come in? And
Yes, we can.
Don't they have to pay the taxes on
They
it?
would have to pay the taxes on it. That really should come first in the sale. I don't think they do that anymore. I don't think they sell the tax bill anymore.
who makes that decision? The sheriff's department, right?
To sell the tax bill?
Is that a sheriff's?
No, I think that's PBA or maybe
Probably fiscal
county
court.
clerk.
Makes the decision of what, Lois?
Of who, if we do sell the
The tax bill.
past due.
Yeah.
Tax
If you don't pay your tax, used to be, and I don't know that they do this, and you know, I don't know how they do this anymore. But used to be, there would be third parties come in and would buy those up,
Mm-hmm.
And they would own the land.
and
Correct.
and they would own a lien against the property. That way, when it reaches a certain point, they can force a sale to recoup their money. So,
Let me make it clear that I don't want anybody's land sold, property sold. I would like to see people pay their
it would save us a lot of
their
heartache.
tax. My question stems from just what happens to people who don't pay their taxes. I know what happens to the school system
Yeah.
when we don't get the taxes paid. But
Goes up the following year.
What was our collection rate again this past year?
It was up though.
This past year was really good. We were at like 76%, but now we had carryover from the year before.
Yeah,
And there's no guarantee we'll even get that next year.
No.
and there's no guarantee that that will ever happen again, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's.
But a lot of the counties, a lot of the districts around are leaving their tax rates the same. They're not following the KDE recommendation, which is really hard on citizens. But
They're not following it, and that is really hard on citizens.
they going with the new rates
okay.
that
Okay.
they're not following the recommended rates.
Right, I misunderstood.
Going from 80.9 to 104 is
Right.
I don't think we can ask our community to pay more than what they're paying already. It's,
I agree.
I agree with you. So we need to vote on this tonight?
Yeah.
Well, I agree, as far as tax rate, you know, and I commend the people go along with the nickel tax and so on that. And new school, 3/4 of it's been paid through emergency funding, and I appreciate, but I agree with you, we can't, I'm looking at a tax raise in the future, which I brought up before. It's not on property, it's on vehicle. And, which ours is 22 cents, 22.3, it's the lowest in the state. And you look at surrounding districts and counties and Paintsville and Pike, when it's up 76, 75, 56, and ours is 22.3. And if you're looking at raising taxes, that would future, that's what I would look at. Watercraft and whatever. And the closest to us, the next lowest in the state is Lawrence County, around 32.3 or somewhere in that neighborhood. And here we're sitting, I don't know how long we've sat at this rate, and but that would be my, as far as taxes, that's what I would look at in the future. But, I agree with Larry and the rest. You go out over $1. And on this new assessment business and assessment of bill, it's just ridiculous. I don't know what people actually, I don't know what's going to happen. Just can't afford it.
So at this time, I need a motion to keep our tax rate the same. So,
I'll make that motion.
I'll
we have a
second it.
motion, I'll throw it up second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, no new taxes. So our next item is going to be discussion and possible action to approve a Thursday weather day change order.
Yeah, that's what Kenny was talking about during the work session meeting. Today for day.
Right. That saves us money, right?
Now, what is this, I read this where there was no, these change orders are zero cost change orders
Right, that's what it said.
for the prime contractors on site and are written to extend the completion date of the project since the project was affected by weather. Okay. For the public to understand this. And it's not going to cost us a dime. We're just extending the days. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to need a motion on that.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion, I need a second.
Second.
A second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action of design development documents for Martin County ATC, including VG2 and VG3.
And they discussed that as well during the work session with ATC. This is regarding ATC school.
Does anyone have any questions on that? If not,
I just want
okay.
to see the price of this. Does that come in with their budget?
I think it's actually, they're projecting about $100,000 over budget right now.
So if we agree to this, that isn't necessarily what we pay them, that's just saying that we go along with what they're projecting.
Right, yeah, this doesn't really, like I said, anything, we're just approving
Because
them
he
to keep going, and we won't know until we actually get the bids.
Did you say the bids? We can start
And the
bidding
bids would be in the spring.
They said probably January,
Yeah, January.
and then
But it'll take
start,
Yeah.
start with that.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion, I need a second.
Okay.
A second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action to approve the citizenship exam for Shelby Park High School. It's in there, you have to fill that out before you go.
Who's on there?
And, was it social, Mr. Bialecki, your group of teachers or PLCs come up with this, or where'd you come up with this test?
The test itself it's a slightly modified version of the civics test from the KDE new civics test manual. The modifications are on the last few questions, they were left not multiple choice. So we modified those with options, they were left with short answer questions. Other than that, this is the version from KDE which fulfills Senate Bill 159's requirement for a civics exam for
For what, I'm sorry.
I didn't hear it either.
Senate Bill 159 says that all students beginning with the class of 2019 have to take a civics exam based on the U.S. citizenship exam in order to graduate.
This came with the as an initiative from Governor Bevins, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. There may be modifications on this from your KDE, right? KDE?
Yeah, it came from the Kentucky Department of Education.
But this test is almost verbatim. I read it on the internet of a test that you study for the for those wanting to be naturalized citizens. Has to study. It's a test almost verbatim on the internet. I read it today. I went to the site of the U.S. Department of Citizenship. I don't know, but it was for immigrants and things to study. And they said to study these 100 questions, you will be asked 10 of them, and you only have to get 6 of them right to become a citizen of the United States. So I find it odd that this is going to count as a civics requirement, because I don't believe it has anything in here about how a proposal becomes law. It lacks the work of what democracy is all about. I mean, because I know who the president is and what one of Benjamin Franklin's inventions were, and this is also a multiple choice, and what an amendment is, and what we call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And I mean, this is good stuff for everybody to know. I agree, perfectly agree. But to say this is it in the name of civics, where civics is concerned with citizenship and how one relates to other citizens and how one relates to the government and how the government interacts with its people. And you know what I mean?
If I may, Mr. McCoy,
Yes.
you're not the only person who is concerned with that. Boiling down citizenship into 100 questions. These are, Kentucky has told us that we need to use the 100 question, it's a 100 question test. You must pass 60 of the 100 questions. They said to use the bank of questions provided by the U.S. Department of Naturalization, Immigration, and Naturalization,
yeah, right.
Which literally is 100 questions.
Right.
And they told us to use that bank to use the 100 questions there. You're not the only person who's expressed concern, even within KDE, and that is the requirement. So.
Yeah. So.
But this test is unfortunately the requirement by Senate Bill 159. Has been passed by the.
It's required by
the Kentucky Senate for graduation here in the state of Kentucky.
Was this a part of Senate Bill 1?
No, it was 159.
Oh. I'm always questioning Senate Bill 1.
However, if I may add to that, it is a requirement, but it has to have the board blessing as part of that law, as part of that regulation. Our staff has to bring it before you guys.
And what if we don't give a blessing?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just asking. I'm not saying we're not. I'm just asking.
I guess we have.
Are we at the present time staffing a civics teacher?
No, and we have the flexibility in Senate Bill 159 to either do this as in a class as a whole as one exam, or we have the flexibility if we wanted to break those questions down into 4 classes that our students would be taking over the course of 4 years. We could do it that way. There is some flexibility about giving the actual test.
A lot of these questions
At
are
the
already
school
in
level.
history.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
I mean, the
starting
answers
class
are
of
there.
what?
Class of 2019. So the juniors that are in the building now.
And what happens if they don't pass it? They're no longer a U.S. citizen.
That's right.
There's not a
not graduate.
And they're deported.
The bill does allow them to take the test as many times as they need to in order to pass it. There's no limit, they can take it.
Now, is this test like the one that gets you into citizenship of the United States of America? Is it given orally?
No, this one will be given multiple choice with modifications for any student with an IEP that requires it. So this would be given 100 question, multiple choice, here's your Scantron, or standard.
You know, maybe I'm just too big into conspiracy theories. But I really feel the watering down of such an important part of this country is
Not good.
it's meant to be. The dark forces want it to be.
Well, hopefully to assuage any of that, I can tell you the course that I teach and what I test my students is much more rigorous than this test.
Much what, sir?
It's much more rigorous.
Oh,
in my
good,
classroom.
good. I mean, I'm sure it is, yeah. You're, after all, you're a teacher, you're not a governor.
Not yet.
There you go.
You know, Kurt Vonnegut said that my job is to teach the youth so that my job is to teach the youth of America before they become presidents. It's to poison the minds of the youth before they become presidents and generals. And I love that. I mean, I understand where he's coming from. Anyway, I'm sorry, Larry. Mr. James, I've taken up too much time.
I just want to say, I knew you weren't going to be deported. I was just kidding. That was a joke.
You knew what?
I knew they wouldn't be deported. That was a joke.
Subject to change.
And
Okay, I'm going to need a motion on this.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. I need a second. I'll second. Have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I must oppose. Please make sure it's no reflection upon any department at the high school, or I just, and I believe that your history department, your government, when they're in the government's parts, they take time to stress this, but to okay this test, I can't do it, so no, but
Okay.
I'll still drink coffee with all of you.
Motion passes 4-1.
Here.
Next item is discussion and possible action to approve a memorandum of agreement with KEDC for Kentucky.
Thanks, Roy.
Grant.
It's a grant partnership through KDC with AD. It's no cost to us. I mean, it's technology. I think we have a technology teacher and a math teacher, if I'm correct, and more training they can make sure with their kids. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to read Martha's there, and I think it's very good. I'm excited about it. For sure. It's very.
I think the students will enjoy it. It's to implement some virtual reality. And I had an opportunity a few months ago to tour the virtual reality lab at Moorhead. And so we're sending our IT and our math teacher, and they actually pay for some equipment and materials and everything for us through this grant. It was a $500,000 grant.
That $500,000 to support the, what, 19 county members or whatever?
I'm not, all
like
of the
that.
ones in KEDC area, I don't know how many that
Okay,
includes.
yeah. By the way, I was wondering, is the way this is written, is it costing us anything?
Zero.
Costs us zero.
They're paying for subs and everything.
Okay, they're paying for subs when
Yeah.
people go.
Okay, I have a motion on the table to accept. I need a second.
I'll say it.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Before I vote, I just wonder why this civics test was stapled to this. This came on the back of my civics test.
I
Yeah.
don't know. What's
And
that
I
name
couldn't
on that?
figure out, see, that was why I was hung up at first, like that bear in the Jimmy Buffett song. But this memorandum is stapled on the back of this,
Oh,
so it's just a mistake.
just a mistake, yes.
Yeah.
Mistake.
Secretary.
Oh, okay, that's fine. But I'm glad it was because it made me look at this.
You said I couldn't have fall break until I got your packet finished.
Okay, we're waiting
Good
on,
excuse.
But I
Okay, we're
appreciate, I
waiting on
appreciate
your
you
vote.
looking out for grants, Ms. Williams, and of course, Kristen Robertson, and the aviation, which she was applied for a grant through KVEC, and I'm excited about that as far as the drone. And, we need to go out and get those if we can. So I appreciate it very much.
okay, we still don't have Nikki's vote, so.
Oh, I vote yes.
Oh, okay. Motion yes. Our next item is going to be discussion and possible action to revise school facility safety policy 05.4. This will be our first reading.
And this is our current policy. What we added was on the back page is for the defibrillators that are each school. At
Okay.
each school.
That's
That
a
was the
great
only
thing to
thing.
have. Do we presently have any of those?
Yes, every school has one.
Great.
If you want it to go into effect tonight as an emergency clause, then, or an emergency situation, then you don't have to do a first reading, you can just adopt it. That's up to you guys.
That would be great to do.
Well-
That saves lives.
Yeah, do we need to change the motion?
So,
Change the
Or-
wording on the agenda.
yes, just
Just
change
the
it.
Change the
number.
agenda?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would we?
To,
Just accept it?
yeah, okay, discussion and possible action to revise school facility safety policy. Okay, we'll just not do the first reading then. This will just be adoption.
Just approve.
The adoption
So
of,
this can
the
be a
safety.
life-saving,
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
okay. So then I would need the motion.
I'll make it.
Have a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Our next is going to be our reports, administrative staff reports. You have any of those three?
No.
Martin County Educational Association reports.
Second month in a row, I have nothing to report, regretfully.
Good, thanks, Ms.
Well,
Nichols.
I would like to ask you and the teachers also to attend. All of us are affected by the pension problem that is, there's no law right now, but we have to attack it before there is a law, because what is asked of us is that people will have to teach longer, pay more into it, and it will not solve the problem that we have now. The problem that we have is a revenue problem within the state, and that must be addressed before any kind of cut in the pension is. I've been to one of these meetings in Pikeville. There was one in Prestonsburg this past Monday, but what you need to do is to stay in contact with your local Sherry and the crowd, and have them tell you where the meetings are going on, because besides the meeting with the KEA union, there are people from the both houses, the Senate and the House. You'll be happy to know that Ray Jones will vote for nothing that is for changing the pension fund to the way that it is, because he is one person who knows that it's a revenue problem. But they have people of both parties, Republican and Democrat, that show up at these meetings, and it's a question and answer thing. So some of the fears that you might have are just not true. but some of them are very real. So, and it's going to affect us if the law goes into effect in a certain way.
Okay, and next item's gonna be our school reports. And, Mr. Hall, on the Eden Elementary K prep results, looks like you're up first.
Now, first I'd like to say, our district-wide, all of our schools improved this past year. I mean, this is how we've been, overall, we're back to being a proficient school district, if we were graded on the old system last year. And that's the only thing we could do is comparing apples to apples. So we improved across the board, and we're having elementaries present tonight, and we'll have middle school and middle school and high school present next time.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank our leadership team. Most of them are here with us tonight, so if you have questions, feel free to ask them during the presentation. Also, we want to recognize our preschool and Head Start programs. They are 5 stars. We were able to achieve that last year, so those teachers and assistants and students need to be recognized for that as well. This kind of will show you our achievement gap and growth scores. If you'll notice, we came up in every area, almost 10 points in achievement, significant gains in the gap, and almost 10 points in growth as well. So we had gains in all 3 areas. I just wanted to give you an overall picture of kind of where we were in each of the areas by year. You'll notice that we saw gains in every single area up there in reading, math, social studies, writing, and language mechanics. Some of the strengths we met novice reduction. Our goal in math of 100%, which means all of our gap groups were able to reduce novice in all those areas. We had a 10-point increase in overall achievement, which is reflected in the nice banner that you all have provided for us. A 21-point increase in overall gap, which is significant. And we went up from 29.2% proficient distinguished to 52%. That's a pretty significant increase in proficient distinguished in social studies. And we have our social studies teachers here with us tonight. Ms. LeMaster is here. We went from 24.4% proficient distinguished to almost 50% in language mechanics. We wanted to highlight those areas as well. Math was a strong point for us as well. We did do some things a little differently in math last year that kind of helped with that. We did use our daytime waiver ESS program to help with some people pushing into the classroom to help with some of those smaller groups.
Now what is that?
The daytime waiver ESS program, which are state funds. Instead of having the after school program, we pushed retired teachers into the building to help with those kids and to try to move them along.
Well, it's wonderful, and it was a gain, huh?
Mm-hmm. We feel like that had a significant impact on those scores.
Yeah.
And you'll notice in the gap groups, we decreased novice in all those areas, so we're pretty proud of that as well in math. There's always areas for improvement, so we do want to have more of a focus on student growth. Even though we had the highest gain in growth, we do recognize that needs to be more significant in all gap areas especially. And then some focus areas in reading, novice reduction. We've already made some changes in reading this year to address that, as well as in writing, increasing the number of students scoring proficient and distinguished in those areas. We've sent all of our 3rd, 4th, 5th grade teachers to the writing training down in Lexington in hopes that will give them some resources to use in their classrooms. We want to also give you some highlights, instructional highlights. Our RTI block includes differentiated activities and progress monitoring for students in small groups. This is on top of the regular math class, on top of the regular reading class. So they're not being pulled out of those classes, they're getting an extra class. Job embedded professional development in reading and writing. We have PLC meetings weekly. We also have common planning for all grade levels, not all week long, but at some point in the week they have common planning so they can sit and talk and discuss resources that they will be using. Professional development, Dr. Christy Wright was at our school today for our PL day. She is excellent. I'm sure these teachers will attest to her training today. We've already made changes today just in what we are doing in our guided reading groups to help our students become more successful. So I wanted to highlight that as well. Increased collaboration between interventionists and the regular education teachers. We were blessed to receive the math grant and the reading grant in our school, and those interventionists are here with us, and they are on the leadership team, and they do collaborate with all teachers across in the building. Our stat team process has been revised this year. Mr. Baker is our person from the school climate grant that oversees our processes, and we have definitely changed that, and we already seeing positive results from that. And our PBIS school-wide expectations. We really worked hard to make sure that our students knew what was expected from day one across the building. So we wanted to highlight some of those areas. Do you have any questions?
About this, I'm just curious about the going to Lexington for some writing. Where did you go and who talked to you? I mean,
well,
anybody here?
Last year we sent one teacher to the training because I don't like to send a mass group of people to training and spend money if it's not worth it.
Right.
And she had commented that was one of the best trainings that she'd ever been to. And actually, Mr. Markham, I'd asked him, what were they doing at INES to help with their writing, and that was the training that he had suggested as well. So this year we sent more of our staff to that, and they've all come back and said.
Where did you go?
It was Dr. Sylvia Abel is her name. It was at the Clarion down in Lexington. And then we sent some to Louisville so that we wouldn't have too many teachers out of the building at one time. So our third grade went to one training and our fourth and fifth went
Were
to the
these teachers that were teaching you? Or?
They're actually people that are involved in the whole process of KDE. They scored state tests. They know on-demand writing, writing programs. You all probably can speak more to
She
that.
is actually, the lady who did the training, she taught writing for many years, and then she has actually written prompts, and she knows exactly what the state is looking for when they give us these prompts and what they expect from the students. She was able to show us what the state is expecting, give us rubrics, and try to help us bump our kids up to higher order thinking and expressing those thoughts in the writing.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, you guys who teach that, or in any subject, you need to know what you're being judged on.
Exactly.
What's before you can even, and so you can focus on those things and teach it in your classroom. Good.
And she's very good with school-wide writing programs and things that you can do. And she provided each participant with a flash drive of a wealth of resources they could bring back to the building. So that was really beneficial as well.
So language mechanics deals, that's basically use of commas, punctuation, verb tenses, in writing, which has been a while since I've deals with.
Writing a passage and developing a story, or writing an essay or article. Argumentative piece.
Which I commend you on your increase, moving up, and what your, your future plans to even make things, your scores, bring your scores up even more, so.
Our staff works very hard, so.
It shows.
We've got an excellent staff at Eden, and of course that's in my district, so.
Your district?
Yeah.
He used to call it my school. I said, wait a minute, we're all of our schools.
But that is,
If I said that to you, then you wouldn't have a high school. But you did.
some of my kids go to
It'd be my
from my district.
My kids.
I have two. No, I'm everybody's board member.
That's right.
I'm everyone's board member.
Well, I am too, but
So it's partial.
Eden's a little special.
Well, that's good, Roger. I would.
Right, Shane, I mean, that's more of a former, what kind of guy?
Well,
I went to Tomahawk too, just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, does
And not
anyone
just
have any,
Tomahawk, I got grass in Buffalo Herman.
does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hall?
Great job.
No.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
thank you for
Appreciate
coming, and thank your staff, and please come to meetings anytime you wish. And if you have something to say, even better yet, come to meetings, because that's the civics of the whole thing, you know? You gotta participate. You gotta participate in government. That's what, go ahead.
And if you need something, hey, you gotta ask, right?
That's right. And and make us show you why or why not.
Right.
Which can't ask any more, because we are not going to have any money. We will not have any yet, so.
We're not taxing you.
So it's minus 600,000 right off the bat. Being serious. 600 minimum right off the bat. No, we're not getting. So, but we'll do more with less like we always do, and still have the same high expectations.
And this whole thing is equalization. You know, we thought we did it right in 90, Counselor, with Judge Corns, and you know what? We're going to have a round 2. House Bill 90 round 2, or CARA round 2, because we have to be equal. There's no sense in Lexington and Louisville and a lot of these metro places having more money to do for their students, you know, and it just really pisses me off, and it ain't right. It ain't right. So there'll be a lawsuit.
Their scores aren't as good as our scores.
Oh well.
Nothing else for Mr.
Too
Paul.
much coffee.
Thank you for coming, and Mr. Mark.
I thought Roger was gonna leave out Grassy, I was gonna get mad.
Oh, gracias. Mr. Hall.
Thank you guys
I need
again.
you to send this, I'm looking at a playground grant, so send that to
You
me.
can have one, you want one?
I got a
Thanks,
lot,
sir.
I got a lot of questions for mine. And Shane.
You don't get asked questions after you left us out, so.
Yeah. Now try to
I'm
make
gonna
up
answer
to
to my board member.
kissing up to him now. Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll get out of the way here. Our school, we had the highest test scores. Am I in your way right here?
It's on you.
Oh, Lord.
Here it is.
All right, that'll be better. All right, I can't stand to sit down, so our test scores last year were the highest we've ever had. So going into that, we knew that we had some challenges to maintain and to keep those things up, and which I talked to you all about that last year. But I'm very proud of our scores. If you'll click the next slide there. It looks a whole lot bigger on the computer than it does on that TV, but you can look, social studies last year, I just broke this down just real quick so you can see, we were at 93.5 last year, which was the highest we've ever been, and this year we were 100 in social studies. That's as high as you can get. That's excellent. So, language mechanics, we went from 53.9, and I've got everything bolded there because if it's got an asterisk out beside of it, that's the highest our school has ever been in that particular subject area, and that was 66.7, Lisa? So that's a gain of, what, 13.2 points, and it's not easy to go up a point like you would think it is. You have to do a lot of work to go up that. And on-demand writing, last year we were tickled to death. He was right. We went to that training and we shared the wealth, and the 2 elementary schools went to the sent people this last year, and everybody's writing score, I think, in the district kind of went up. So it was a big thing for us, and we went from 71.2. I was tickled to death that we actually went up to 72 this year in writing. So reading was 65.7, we went up to 66.5, so we did make a gain in reading as well. Math, we were at 67.2, and you see that red thing out there, 62.1, we went down in math, and I'm a math person, and I don't like that, so we've already made changes on that. I don't really know exactly, we didn't do anything any different, but we are doing our RTI a little bit with math this year as well. So overall achievement, like you can see it on the banner. I didn't know those were very nice. Thank you. First in achievement, but that was our achievement score last year was the highest we've ever been, was 73.5, and this year we actually, even as good as we did last year, our overall achievement score still went up to 74.8. So we still went up 1.3 points from last year in our overall achievement, and that's just every kid in every test, in every subject area, all together, and we went up 1.3 points, so I was very proud of that. Our teachers were too. So the next slide should be GAP. This is non-duplicated gap, and I could go into a whole big thing about trying to explain all that to you, and you'd be bored to death, but the non-duplicated gap is just all the kids who are in a gap, and then we take those subject areas and do that again. That's where we had, even as distinguished last year and as high, as good as our test scores were, that was still some of the areas of concern that I had. If you can see, we were 64 in social studies in our gap score. This year we were 81.3. That's a huge gain. Look at language. We made a direct effort in language because when I saw that 15.2, I was sick. There's no excuse for that in a gap score. So I went to the teacher, her and I had a little heart-to-heart, and our non-duplicated gap was 50 this year. So that's a huge gain in our non-duplicated gap. On demand went from 44 to 53. Reading from 36 to 47.8. But our math, when you take an overall hit in math, normally it'll show up in your non-duplicated gap. We took a small dip in that too. Here's the part that really, our novice reduction, I've been principal, this is my 11th year, and every year the test changes. Every single year just about. I was under the impression when we started this novice reduction 5 years ago that we had to decrease it 10% every single year over the next 5 years to try to eliminate novice. That was my understanding. I think that was Ms. Kirk's understanding as well. We thought that that's exactly how it was doing. Well, what they really do is you only take the year before. So when you have a really good year, like we had very few novice last year, well then your novice reduction you have to have even less this year. So if we'd had less this year, then next year we would have had to have less again. So in the novice reduction part of your gap, the non-duplicated is 50% of your gap score. The novice reduction is 50% and your non-duplicated is 50, and then they average that score up and they give you your score for your gap. Our non-duplicated went way up, but our novice reduction, we didn't get any points in novice reduction because we either maintained, which is good, or we had a slight increase like we did in math and novice in the number of novice students, and that made we didn't get any novice reduction points, and it's worth a lot. People don't understand that, but it's worth a lot. And so they were only using last year's score. So like this year, it all changes again, and it's all on a 5-star rating. But we still have to. We have Lisa and Mr. James has helped me. I found this new program with RTI that we're trying to pilot and look at for the. I hope it works really good, like I think it will in our school, because I'd love for Eden to do it and Warfield to do it. I do like to be #1, but I want them to be like a 10th of a point right close. Honestly, I do. I want them.
What is the name of the program?
I share like 85% of the stuff.
No, you showed your whole hand, man.
Exact pass.
Okay.
No, they do, and I honestly, I'd like to commend them. I'm not trying to beat, but it takes a lot of hard work. I don't know if you all, I know some of you as teachers, but the work like Eden done, the middle school, the high school, and Warfield, I mean, it's a lot of work, and
That's what we wanted to celebrate.
I think it's very deserving. Not because it's our school. I think all of them deserve it. They work really hard. We have wonderful teachers and wonderful kids. But our number of novice students, that was a big hit for us. It took our gap score down, which if you don't make novice reduction, I don't care how good you do, you're going to go down under that system. And so I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not making excuses. We should have done better in that avenue. But eventually, you have to continue to go down, and eventually it's going to catch up with you. Eventually it's going to catch up, and you've got to try to level back out. And I think that's where we're at right now. I think we've stayed the course, and now I think if we can decrease some this year, our scores will go right back up to where they were. Everything was, our achievement scores were higher than they were last year. Our growth was higher than it was last year. Just the number of novice kids were a little bit higher, which caused our overall score to go down.
Data, which kind of jumped out at me, is like school digger, and of course whether I got the right stats or not, Lisa would probably, like last year, you were ranked like 340, you're a 3-star school, right? If you looked at this year, 3 stars.
I've looked at this year.
And so, which means you have to be between 50 and 70 percentile, and you're up 17 places from 345 last year, and you're up 328. But what jumped out at me is like your novice in social studies was, I think it was, of course, Warfield's was down to 2.8% or something. Yours was like 4%. And if you bring what I see, and whether I'm interpreting it right or not, Lisa, you can tell me, but you're so much above state average, like in proficient. Of course, you're above state average. It's like I got here 86% or something social studies compared to state average 60. The state was 30, state 15. And if you move those proficient kids up to distinguished, I mean, your scores are really going to,
Under the old system, I don't mean to interrupt you, under the old
Yeah.
system, and what some people don't understand, it's a little bit misguided, the social studies are still the old test, it's scored a little differently than it is with reading and math, but at the same token, we have put a big emphasis on trying to get proficient kids up to distinguished because you get bonus points. So if we have low novice and a high number of distinguished, then therefore, that's how we got 100.
it's like in writing, and that jumped out at me too, is like, distinguished, you're 10%, the state average is 5. And of course, you got a proficient 40 and state 40. If you move those proficient up, I mean, we're going to be really up there high.
And the way we're doing our RTI right now, every kid in the building has RTI in reading and math, and then we've got some, right now we've had we do the daytime waiver too with our interventionists. I have 3, and we do team teaching in there, and they work, and we've been taking some of the retired teachers, and we're doing a flip this year, instead of just giving them the kids who are struggling, we're giving them the higher-end kids, trying to push them to distinguished, and then we're giving the teachers the students who are struggling and trying to get, so we're just kind of doing a little reverse with that to see how that works. But then growth, I'm sorry, I'm taking too long to go. On growth, we pretty much maintained the line. You can look, we were 59.9 last year, and this year we went to 60.2. So, and that's just saying in math and reading, did they meet the 40th percentile growth in math and reading, the students, and they track them. They take the test in 3rd grade, and they take it in 4th, they put them in a group, and then they take it in 4th. Did they meet in the 40th percentile of all those kids in that group? And 60% of our kids did that.
And that's all changing.
Together, and that's all changing too. So
The only thing I saw, maybe a little negative, not really negative, because like reading, proficient was 45.3, state average was 37. Distinguished, you guys were 7.5, state was 17, so, but you can.
We addressed that already with the reading group already. You're right.
Okay, but that's.
You're right on.
Yeah.
So I met with all 3 of the reading teachers, and they were surprised and shocked. Like some of the kids that because we pretty much know going in. I mean, we track kids all year long. We kind of have an idea, like, and they immediately get the scores and look, and they're like, "Oh Lord, I can't believe that kid didn't score this thing." And we looked at seeing some of those things because we only had like 12 distinguished or something in reading.
Social studies was amazing to me. Writing was jumped out at me. I mean, that was. The percentage and distinguished and compared to state average, and like you said, you did, and you moved up 17 places. I don't think you complain too much.
I'm proud. Like Jamie said, we can always do better. If we would have just had the same number of novice kids that we did last year, we would have been out the roof. I mean, our achievement went up and our growth went up. That novice reduction hurt us, and but eventually, and we've talked about it as a teacher for the last 2 years, once it started, eventually it was going to catch up with us. I mean, it was
social studies, is that, do they kind of focus on, which when I was teaching, it was kind of like on reading a map, or.
They are geography. Geography is part of it.
On those tests when I was.
Regions, with the geography, even the states, capitals, things like that, but it also has, a lot of the history stuff's in there too. I know there's
map scales and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And,
okay, sorry. Next steps. Our morning and daytime, we hope we're able to still do that. I know there's still some things up in the air with budgets and things like that. That's a big thing for us right now is our daytime ESS waiver and our interventionist. Exact path, we had our training on that today. We hope to incorporate that starting next Monday, and that takes the MAP scores that they do, and it takes their RIT score, which is their score they get from MAP. Gives each kid, every single kid, all 284 of them we have right now, will get an individual learning path for that kid based on their discrepancies that they have in MAP, and it shows the line and what they're working on. It gives them 4 standards. It tests them all the way through. So we're excited about that to see how it works. And novice reduction, I got that underlined because that's what we got to do.
Yeah.
Anything?
Do a great job. Thank you.
And on your kindergarten, I congratulate that Brigance. You know, the increase on that is pretty amazing too. So, and all 5-star ratings on those kindergartens. So it's great. If your fishing team does as well, it'll be fun.
I had 6 at state last year, so
you got to move up.
Mr. Stafford?
To me? Yep, you're up. All right. I do want to start. I'm going to put this on the table. My family resource liaison in the back, and I told her I would do this, and if not, she's going to hurt me. So make sure you guys look at that. That is garden that we have out back, greenhouse, kids plant and do all the work, and she's super proud of that. And we are too at Warfield. It's awesome to be part of the Red Devil family. A lot of excitement going on over there, but they're not complacent. We're looking always to further improve. On the first slide, I just went ahead and did a comparison of the two scores on, no, the next one, yeah.
You got a little pressure on you now, don't you?
I accept it though.
They did well last year.
That's what I was actually going to say. We expect success. That's our mission statement that's on the first. They expect it. They're not going to take anything less. So when we got these scores, they woohoo and celebrated for a day. But after that, it's what can we do?
A day.
Yeah, literally. Kathy Kerman's like, okay, what are we doing now? But on this slide, we have the achievement points from 15-16 and 16-17. As you guys can see, from 15-16, we're at 65.9. Overall achievement went up to 74.3 for this most recent data. Reading went up from 62.5 to 66.8. Math took a slight dip from 61.3 down to 59.3, and we've already began addressing that shortfall. Social studies, and Kathy's going to be coming after you now that you said 100%. We had one novice, and it's absolutely killed her. We have 95 for social studies as opposed to 87.8 the previous year. And writing was a huge jump from 52.7 all the way to 81.3. So we did a lot of work with writing. At the main bottom, you see the achievement gap and growth. Achievement again went up 65.9 to 74.3. And the gap went from 21.6 to 76.3. When I got the data, I had to look at it twice just to make sure there wasn't a typo. Again, that's 21.6 to 76.3. And growth actually went down from 61.9 to 60.3. 60.3. Highlighting some of that data again, with writing, 67.5 proficient distinguished is what we had, and we improved 28.6 points from the 15-16 year to the 16-17. Language was another one, so we had 63.4 proficient and distinguished, and social studies we had 75% proficient and distinguished, and again, only one novice. So they do an awesome job.
Have they always, excuse me, I'm sorry, have they always separated writing with language? I'm glad they do, but has it always been the thing?
Actually.
Ever since they changed portfolios, when that's kind of the path they.
Well, I'm glad they do.
Well, it's getting ready to change.
Yep.
What? Is it Senate Bill 1?
I think you should mention that. It's going back to an ELA test. It's like in reading and English and writing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Some of the things that we've kind of started or continue doing, some of them they started last year, and we're just improving these efforts, is our novice reduction efforts and RTI. We've done an overall on the RTI, the emphasis in math, that's 1.8% drop. So we put a lot of work into math, and we have a math interventionist that's working with our students in and out of the classroom. Daily collaboration among teachers. Most teachers that I've been with aren't as passionate as the teachers that we have. During lunchtime, they're talking, they're staying after school every single day. So they're focused on getting better. We have a rewards room to celebrate the student successes. We feel that's important, that we always celebrate even those small incremental successes every time that they have those. Attendance is a big incentive this year. And I do want to brag on my attendance clerk, Ms. Crystal Robinson. We checked in after the second full month at over 97%. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Very hard to do. We've revised our master schedule. We now have common grade level planning every day of the week for our teachers. So every day of the week they have common planning together. And the implementation of POC. So one day a week I'm meeting with teachers at grade level. One thing that doesn't allow is the content area. So some things that we're doing is we've actually started a math team and a reading team, and I talked to my science teacher today. We're going to start a science team where we're actually meeting K through 5 teachers, tying in all that content so we can move fluid from one grade to the next. Committees, we've started committees. We have a leadership committee, attendance committee, parent and community involvement, safety committee, and as well the reading and math committee. We now have a common school-wide grading scale from K through 5, and everybody is putting those into IC, using Infinite Campus to report those, because moving forward into the new accountability system, IC is going to be the driving force behind that. So, and of course, PBIS is a big help, having those common school-wide expectations. Another thing that we're doing is we're tracking the student data. Typically with novice reduction and those things, we're used to tracking students that were scoring novice. One thing that we're changing this year is, and again, Kathy Kerr's on board with this one, we're not only finding out who those novice kids are, but the apprentice kids, as well as the proficient kids, and the distinguished kids, because we get points for moving kids up, not just from novice to apprentice, but also from apprentice to proficient, so forth and so on. So we're making sure that we know where every kid is, and making sure that they're getting what they need instructionally to bump them up to the next one, and when we get them there, keeping them there. We've moved computer labs. We've gotten some extra, or some Chromebooks and other technology that we're pushing out. So we had one computer lab before that was kind of put in the back of the library. So now I have a whole nother room down one side for K2 and another computer lab for 3-5 down the other side so that they can use it. And again, RTI is built into the schedule this year. We have attendance as a priority again. Classroom grade level challenges. The teachers are really big on pushing one another. So we've got attendance challenges going on, reading for AR points and all those things that teachers are actually pushing other teachers to get out there and promote excellence. We also have a student exemplar wall and recognizing success again, like with the reward room or making morning announcements. Everything that we can do to push those successes out there. And we're inviting and utilizing parents, community members, and stakeholders. That's a big thing, and I think that we need to invite them in and activate them. Not only, we're starting like a family literacy night, to where we're bringing kids in, we're giving them activities to do, but also while they're there, I'm working on teaching the parents on strategies that they can use at home to actually teach the kids and help us out and bridge that gap between community and school.
I like inviting the parents.
Did y'all just, Mr. Sapp? This is Shane's first year, and he's off to a great start.
What I said, what I expect, Shane. Of course, looking at, and if you can, on my, looking at School Digger and School Report Card, which Warfield Elementary is 2-star. You only missed the 3-star by my calculation, and I could be wrong by 2%. I think the average was 48 percentile, and you need to be 50, so we expect you to be up there in the star rating, 3 ahead of next year. And the ranking was 362 compared to 520 last year, up 158 places. So, and again, that social studies jumped out at me, you know, like 2.4% or something novice. I mean, that's practically, and again, a whole lot like Inez on proficient, 54.8. Distinguished was 19 compared to state was 15, which you can get those proficient up to distinguished. And the writing, which was 69, I think, compared to state 45, which that's a difference of 25. That's huge. And you know, it looks really. We know who's shall be held accountable next year, don't we?
Amazing students, amazing staff.
And the reading was up to 57.3 or something proficient and distinguished compared to state 54. So, and the language mechanics, that's where I saw the most novice was in language mechanics. I don't, you know, so 37%, I believe, compared to state 20. I guess you've already looked at that. Huh?
Yeah.
And I appreciate and commend you, not only you, but Eden Elementary and Inez on the attendance, which with budget cuts and money, as far as tax rates and losing money there, which is very important, which you said you were 97.7 16, I'm looking at, of course, Eden was 96.72, which is great, 96.77. I don't remember that since I've been a board member, attendance rates being that high. So whatever you do, but shoot for 97 or 98, but you need that, don't you, Ernest? You need that, we need that funding.
It's always how the first couple of months, we just need to keep it that way all year long. That's the challenge.
I think we should also recognize Mr. Williams for his part in the scores at Warfield Elementary.
Yeah, he works hard with our kids.
Yes. And now he's at high school.
That we appreciate the job that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sound like you got some good things going on. And,
How did you have the RTI into your already built-in schedule? How did you, what did you?
There was some issues with it, but what we found is they were ability group. I didn't get the job until 2 days before, so really changing the schedule at that time was creating a savage. So what we've done is since they're ability group, we have a white, a maroon, and a white group. I've allowed them to tack on an extra 30 minutes to the end of that period, so that they're actually, if they need RTI and they need that intervention, they're getting it as well. But also for the kids who are the higher group, they're getting enrichment.
Right.
So really what it boils down to is in math, in reading, and social studies, they're getting RTI pretty much every day for that 30 minutes in every subject area.
And we know you had a good third grade teacher.
Oh, amazing, amazing.
So, you didn't have a bad coach.
Who was that, Roger?
It wasn't me.
Yeah, but anybody kin to you or anything? Oh, okay.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or any comments from our elementary principals?
A question. When he was talking about, Mr. Hale talking about the contingency money, keeping the rate, the current rate, and I know what you gotta have at least $200,000, $239,000. Okay, and you'll be able to do that even though you're taking, what, an $880,000 hit. Is that correct?
It will depend on our collection rate.
Yeah. Well, I want to know is that projected, if all things being equal, it's not going to cut into any of the contingency money on the high school?
Oh, no, that's a whole different part of
that's a whole
money.
separate
Yeah.
thing, okay. All right, so that's pretty good. I mean, you take that. I just
Yeah.
and I noticed that being a Warfield boy, that or my kids went to Warfield, that
I thought you were a West Virginia boy.
And well, just say, as a Warfield parent, I look at here and I see a falcon and a hawk that I watched play in school, doing really good at their schools, and that's pretty good. I mean, you know. I'm just saying.
Good things do come from the other side of the world.
From that side of the our school and doing well.
I have just like an invitation. Martin County Middle School Journalism is going to do a story highlighting the success at Martin County Middle School, because while we fell short of our goal just a little bit, we're still really, really proud of all our achievements. But we would like to do a story on our district, and I'm working closely with KET this year, and we're going to enter it as one of our video projects. So if any of the elementary school principals would like to be a part of it, or you guys would like to be in it, we would love to have all the different people, involved in our district in the video. You can call me or email me if you'd like to be interested. We're going to start tomorrow and planning that. But seeing all the banners and stuff, I think it'll be a great thing. I'm like Michael, I want to be #1 in the video, so I might talk about Martin County Middle School a little more. But then right after that, I'll do all the others. But I think it would be good, and our kids would love to cover it, and they could come to your schools to interview you, or just whatever, if you'd like to be on it.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a comment?
We have Heritage Day tomorrow night as elementary. If y'all would like to come up, there's all kinds of food, activities, and fun. You know what's to come.
What's going on, sir?
We have Heritage Day. It's
okay.
Yeah. Tomorrow.
You had Mickey.
And on Warfield's Friday.
Warfield, yeah, Friday.
One last thing, I'm going to stop, not because he said something, no. But
I'm gonna talk when you get finished.
Everybody knows how much Mr. Haney talks, so I'm just standing in for him today. But we started 2 years ago. I started a CHIRP team at Martin County Middle School. It stands for Community Helping Improve Readiness and Proficiency, and it's composed of like 15 to 20 different businesses and organizations and our parents, and it's completely changed like programming. I've talked to Marcy a lot about it, but it's such a huge thing, and I would just want to invite you guys to be a part of our CHIRP team. It's anybody, I mean, every one of you, whether you're in our district or not. But we meet next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. We have a monthly meeting, so if you'd like to attend, we'd love to have you.
And this is called what?
Church. For the Cardinals.
Sure.
Like
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's good.
I was proud of it.
Yeah.
It's next Tuesday at 11 if you'd like to attend.
No, I'll say one more thing and I'll shut up too.
I'll say something
I want to
after you.
thank, I appreciate Mr. Hall and the memorial ceremony for Isaiah Thompson. I thought it was very nice, and the kids did an excellent job in the singing and the comments they made, and the bench and the help you went out and got from Kentucky Farm Bureau. I'd like to thank them, but very emotional, very moving ceremony, and it's I don't know, being a parent, how you deal with something like that. Well, parents deal with it every day, but I commend you, and I'm sure Mr. James we appreciate what you did for Isaiah and his family. So it's an emotional thing.
Okay. Does anyone else have a comment that you would like to make? If not, I need a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?